I'm Shane McLaren, and I'm a paranormal investigator.
My name is Rob DiVinanzo, and I am a paranormal investigator.
My name is Ben Stacey. I am a filmmaker, and I am a skeptical paranormal investigator.
My name is Paul Silliphant. Ever since I was a child, I've had experiences with the paranormal. I spent over 30 years peering into the darkness of the unknown, immersing myself deep into the strange and mysterious. Inspired by my own childhood experiences, I started seeking answers by investigating stories of ghosts and haunted locations. My mission has been to document occurrences of paranormal activity and search for the truth about what happens in the dark hours. For me, I became a paranormal investigator due to personal experiences. I needed to get answers. Things happened to me as a child that, at the time, I didn't realize were any different than anybody else. As I got older and things started happening that were much darker, I started needing answers for my own sanity, for my own emotional state, just to know that I wasn't crazy.
I've been a paranormal investigator for close to 15 years now. I think the majority of cases that we go to and investigate for either businesses or homeowners, a lot of the time we can attribute what they feel is paranormal activity to some other source based on science, whether it's electrical or heating or air or whatever the case may be. We may be able to debunk that type of stuff.
As a paranormal investigator, all I want to do is try to find that proof. It's something I've been interested in for most of my life. Having a lot of personal experiences has pushed me to look further into it.
I have always loved ghost stories. I've loved listening to ghost stories, watching ghost stories, and telling ghost stories. So the draw was there right from the beginning. But I'm also interested to find out what is it that people are actually experiencing, because clearly people are experiencing something. Now, some people are probably just making stuff up. That happens. But there are other people who are genuine in their belief that they have experienced something paranormal. I don't necessarily believe it is something paranormal, but it's something. And I'm interested to find out what it is that they are actually experiencing.
I've seen enough in my 15 years, from seeing a couple of apparitions to footsteps to things being thrown at us to physical contact, to know that there is definitely something out there.
To be able to be a part of something that we all share similar beliefs, but we all push each other a little bit further, I think, to find that truth. And that's basically what I'm doing, is trying to find that proof that I need in my life for my personal experiences.
I did tons of investigations, tons of just research into what was going on. I just needed to know. And as things progressed, I just needed answers to know what was going on in the world. Everybody, I think, has had some sort of experience one way or another. I just want to know what these experiences are. So in the paranormal field, we come across basically two types of spirits: residual or active. Residual being something that's basically being played over and doesn't interact with anyone. Active spirits are what they say is they interact with people, they do things.
And I don't know how long she was standing there, but there was a point as I was cleaning the window where my eyesight went in towards the kitchen rather than looking at the exterior pane. And that's when I saw her. And I ran. I remember running towards the schoolhouse, confused, not sure where I should turn to or what I should do. And the next thing I know, Rosie's by my side.
Are you okay? What happened?
The kitchen. She's in there.
Who's in the kitchen?
She is Miss Lee.
With Lisa seeing a figure through the window of the Lee house. That's a very difficult thing to judge or examine after the fact as someone who wasn't there.
I think for a possible paranormal occurrence like that, certainly when you have one person that happened to come outside, they looked up, they saw what they thought was an apparition in the window, I think it makes it very difficult for us as what I would call a professional paranormal group to say that that evidence is real without having corroborating evidence maybe from another person.
Was it something paranormal? I don't necessarily think so. There are all sorts of other possible explanations. You're looking through a window, there's reflections. There's maybe dirt on the window. There's something called pareidolia, where humans have a tendency to find faces in abstract patterns. Just look at any abstract pattern, you'll probably find yourself forming a face out of it. So that's a possibility. It doesn't discount her feelings of the event, because those were real.
I think, again, if you're in a place for a length of time, you basically, this is your second home. You work here, you work with the spirits, you've come to work with each other. So perhaps during her time of cleaning, maybe the spirit said, you're not doing this the way that I would do it. Things are different now. This is my home, you're not cleaning it the way I would have cleaned it.
Definitely sounds active with all the things that happened in this house, and the fact that she had a physical reaction to it before she actually had the visual stimulation.
So trying to make her feel uncomfortable, to let her know that I'm not happy with the way you're doing things. So she leaves, goes back out, starts washing the windows, and she appears to her to say, I'm still here. You're not listening to me. Listen to me. I'm making myself known. It's very hard for me to make myself known, but I'm making myself shown to you to say, hey, listen to me. I'm still here.
It was trying to affect her. It was trying to make her leave, and then didn't want her. It sounded like it didn't want her to come back, or it wanted her to know that it was there.
That is a very subjective experience. So I don't doubt that Lisa experienced something. She saw something, and to her, it was a woman standing in the kitchen. And that, whatever it is that she saw, scared her and really had an effect on her, to the point where she doesn't want to go back to the museum because of it.
With the experience in the church, with Rosie being there so much, I think she probably had, the spirits felt very comfortable with her. Is there anyone here with us? Can you make a noise?
Given that Rosie spends a lot of time in that building, I think she probably has a connection to some of the spirits that are there.
I just felt this weight on my body, and I burst into tears.
And I think that she became overwhelmed when she saw the word husband come up on the device. She maybe started to feel that somebody who had passed away was there. Maybe she was feeling that particular spirit there, somebody who has become comfortable with her, and she just became overwhelmed.
Okay. She also lets her guard down more than most people because it's her workplace. It's not like us coming in and we're looking for things and we don't know the environment. Again, spirits will share things with people. Sometimes they connect with people. They want to have the living know that they're there.
I was actually there on that paranormal investigation, so it was really interesting and in some ways distressing to see Rosie, who had been with us for our whole investigation with no signs of emotion, suddenly getting overwhelmed with sadness and sitting there sobbing.
I've personally experienced a similar situation, and you have no control, you have no idea what's happening, and quite honestly, it is unnerving.
She clearly felt something. I don't know if it's paranormal. I mean, you're in a situation where you know that this place has been used for funerals. The the app that we used had spelled out the word husband, maybe Rosie just connected the two and had an emotional reaction, just like one might to hearing a story about something tragic or sad. Again, it really doesn't matter because she experienced those emotions regardless of whether they were paranormal or not. And I'm glad she was okay once she left the church.
Okay. I'm fine.
EVPs, or electronic voice phenomena, are quite interesting.
EVPs can be a good source of evidence anytime you're investigating on a scene, but I think the EVPs need to be reviewed. They need to be taken in context with other pieces of evidence.
I was not at that location for the investigation, but I did have a chance to review the EVP, and it is, I mean, it's quite incredible. EVPs in general, again, some of them you have to take with a grain of salt, given the location, given the atmosphere, the weather.
Sounds on a recording that you can't explain can fall into sort of the category of an audio version of pareidolia, where we want to create a pattern of a face in a abstract image. Our brain will want to pick out words in some sounds that we hear.
As a rule, we tend to take our evidence, review it ourselves, and then send it to the rest of the group, and then try to get everybody's input before anybody has a chance to say, this is what I think it is, because you're implanting thoughts of, oh yeah, I did hear them say that.
I think if we were investigating, we got an EVP that just happened to say George or something to that effect, I think if there is no relevance to that, I think we need to use other corroborating evidence to be able to justify a particular EVP.
I would say well over 90% of the time, you're going to find a scientific explanation for it. But there has been times as a group that we've come together and said, no, I can't explain that. We're all accounted for at the time. This is one that we have to peg and look further into.
Lights going on after someone has been sure that they have turned them off. If that happens once, you can easily discount it as they forgot.
I look at things like lights being left on, or you've turned them off, you leave the room, you turn around, they've come back on, or left the building, you look up and the lights have come back on. To happen once, chances are you've probably forgot a light.
But when it happens 2 or 3 times and they've gone back to check and gone back to specifically turn the lights off again, that's a little harder to explain.
If you're OCD like myself and you turned off the lights, you turned off the lights, and if you left and saw the lights back on, yeah, you'd be pretty freaked out. You'd go back and you would doubly make sure that those lights are off.
I do know that if it was me and it was my 3rd time going back in to turn the lights off, I'd probably be a bit hesitant. While I don't necessarily believe in ghosts, I have a great imagination, and I can certainly picture the horror movie version of what's going on, so it would definitely scare me.
On a spiritual side, that's either the spirit wanting you to be there, they're calling you back, they're not done with you for the day, they enjoy your company, or they think they're doing their job. And by you turning the lights out, you're interrupting their job, and they're going to let you know.
I turned off all the lights. Just before I shut the doors, I said, okay, I want to go home now. Please don't do this again.
Okay, that's it. I've had enough. I want to go home. Okay? Thank you.
And I shut the doors, and as soon as I shut the doors, I hadn't even hit the first step going down. There was the loudest bang I've ever heard coming from somewhere inside the theater.
So by the big bang, that's either frustration or a prank.
it's almost like childlike, stomping their feet or slamming their hand down on the table, that they weren't done having fun yet.
Dave felt his way to the front of the theater.
And I got to the knockout door, and something made me turn around. I looked up to the balcony, and I could see her almost floating and shimmering. I froze. I don't know how long I stood there, but when I came to my senses, I turned around, I hit that knockout door, I ran down those steps, and I have never been alone in this theater since.
A good description of a residual haunt, I would think. Maybe a ghost or spirit that's stuck in that location, doesn't necessarily interact with the people that are there.
The figure floating is, I think, something as a paranormal investigator we all strive to see. People think that we're a little bit unhinged sometimes because we want to see that stuff, but that is the ultimate goal, to find that apparition, that evidence that says, wow, this is real, this is happening.
Without being in the situation, it's hard to say whether that was real or not real. If it was, that person was very lucky.
You see that? I did. It was a dark shadow or something. It came down the stairs.
Yeah, it went down the stairs. I'm not convinced that it was something paranormal. There was a window in that stairwell. There's a street light outside. I'm thinking it was a pigeon, flying by the window, casting a shadow. It could have been a pigeon outside.
A pigeon the size of a pterodactyl?
It's a pterodactyl.
Yeah, it wasn't a pterodactyl.
We all have our beliefs. We all think a certain way about the paranormal, whether you believe it or you don't. I think if you believe it, then you need to someone needs to prove to you that it's not real. And if you don't believe it, then it's up to people like us to prove to them that it is.
In the 15 years that I've been a paranormal investigator, I've seen enough within that time that continues to get me excited for every investigation. We may only have something paranormal that comes up 3, 4, 5% of the cases, but that's enough to keep me excited and keep me wanting to learn about the paranormal. Anyone
Who comes forward to share their ghost stories or their experiences with the purportedly paranormal, I say good for them, because it's a very difficult thing to share, especially if you have been affected emotionally by what it is that you saw or heard or felt. While I don't think it's paranormal, those people have experienced something, just like the people who've shared their stories in this show. So I certainly don't discount what they felt. I don't necessarily believe it was paranormal, but they did feel something. So thank you for sharing your stories. Not only do we have a show where we can tell those stories, they're really interesting, and a good ghost story is amazing.
After all my experiences with the paranormal, after all the research I've done, after all the investigations I've been on, I still don't have all the answers. But my journey continues, and hopefully one day I will.